I'm currently researching the Battle of Stalingrad for an upcoming Stalingrad documentary, and a while ago I purchased The Death of the Leaping Horsemen book on Kindle by Jason D. Mark. The book details the exploits of the 24th Panzer Division from the 12th of August to the 20th of November 1942, and today I'm going to review the book. Quick background to the division. The 24th Panzer Division was one of the spearheads of 4th Panzer Army, which drove towards the southern part of Stalingrad. It was formed in 1941 from the 1st Cavalry Division. In fact, it's the only German Panzer Division to be converted from a cavalry division, which is why the division was allowed to keep its cavalry yellow instead of adopting Panzer pink. The division fought very successfully at first, forming the southern pincer of Paulus's plan to take the city of Stalingrad. It thrust through the southern part of Stalingrad in a rapid advance. Unfortunately, thanks to Zhukov, the northern pincer wasn't able to thrust down, and so the 62nd Army was never encircled. This forced Paulus to conduct frontal assaults on the city, which 24th Panzer Division took part in. It slowly bled to death, ending up finally in the Krasny Oktober factory, the infamous Red October factory, just prior to Operation Uranus. The book is split into days, each day focusing on what the 24th Panzer Division got up to. It details movements, reports, orders and comments by people from the division. It also shows a casualty list at the end of each day, saying how many officers were killed or wounded, how many men were killed or wounded or missing, and how many of the wounded stayed with their units. It lists the number of operational panzers, giving you some reference as to how the division was being eaten away by attrition. The book, therefore, it's not a narrative, and it's only interested in the division, not the wider picture. If you have no knowledge about Stalingrad or haven't got other books or maps to hand, you're not really going to understand much of the context. Here is an example of the text. With the armoured Strossgruppe at the front, echeloned rearward to the left, the division would break through the enemy front in the area 3 kilometers west of Tebet en Erevo after artillery preparation, then gain Farm No. 1 as the first attack objective, the hills east of 174.0 as the second attack objective, the Bruck sector hard northeast of Seti as the third attack objective, and point 130, 6 kilometers northwest of Blinkinov, as the fourth attack objective. The division took a calculated risk and ordered its units to thrust through to the daily objective without regard to the open west flank. The 2nd Romanian Division, partly employed in the defence, would secure Farm No. 1 after the successful attack and take over protection of the open west flank of the corps. Reconnaissance and preparations were made more difficult by the fact that the Romanian Division and regiment commanders could not give faultless information about the course of the forward line and the picture of the enemy. As you can see, it's very factual but also quite dry, and this therefore isn't a book you can just pick up and read from cover to cover, like for example Beaver's Stalingrad. Beaver reads almost like a novel, while Mark's book is more of a reference piece than anything else, which, to be fair, is great if that's what you're looking for, a reference. As part of this reference, Jason D. Mark treats us to a series of clear and concise maps which really do allow you to follow the action quite well. Contrast this to some of Glance's maps and you can see the difference in quality. The pictures provided are also fantastic, which you'll not find elsewhere, and in terms of maps and the pictures, I wish more history books were like this. I don't have a physical copy of The Death of the Leaping Horsemen, but I do have 2 other books by Jason D. Mark, and you can see that the quality of the paper and the print is top notch. They are some of the nicest history books that I own, and at least for me, I do think they're worth the price tag. I do wish that more of Mark's books were on the Kindle because, well, especially the ones that are out of print, because the Death of the Leaping Horsemen Kindle version is great and I'd like to have more of the others on there as well. Sadly, while Mark does provide great levels of detail, he's basing his information on German reports, facts and figures. This information isn't always great. For example, Mark isn't able to list how many panzers were away for repair, which would have been handy to contrast to the number of available panzers. This means the number of operational panzers fluctuates all the time, daily. One day there could be 0 command tanks, the next day there's 3, and Mark does offer an explanation halfway through the book. It is simply not possible to tell from German panzer figures how many panzers were knocked out, because at the same time as panzers were being knocked out, repaired panzers became active and were included in the number of operational panzers. Probably for the same reasons, he doesn't list the number of men currently in the division each day, although does produce a chart every so often which does say this. But again, it's not daily, so it's hard to know exactly how many troops are actually in the field, unless you probably sit there with a calculator. But even then, you don't know how many men who are wounded are trickling back to the front. Given the level of information in this book, I can only assume that this is a fault with the German statistics. However, the book itself is not without its flaws. My main criticism of the book is that it ends on the 20th of November 1942. This is when the Soviet Operation Uranus counteroffensive begins and the encirclement of the Sixth Army is about to happen. Why this is the end of the book, I'm not sure, because the remnants of the 24th Panzer Division continue to fight on until the 2nd of February 1943. In fact, it is Lenski, the new divisional commander, who persuades Strecker in the northern Stalingrad pocket to surrender on the night of the 1st of February. Perhaps it's because there's no more records available, or perhaps not in the detail required to continue the work. As far as I'm aware, there's no explanation from Jason DeMarc at the end of the text, although I may have missed it. It might be in an appendix somewhere. As it is, it feels like you're about to find out who the murderer is, and then everything fades to black. Overall, The Death of the Leaping Horsemen is a great history book. It's top quality, and in terms of this quality, I really do wish that more history books were like this. The volume of information is very high, and it's perfect for anyone who wants to piece together every little detail, every inch of the battle like I do. But if you're new to the topic, or you're just wanting a narrative, it's not the best book to choose, and I'd probably recommend several others first. Without the context, you will not get the significance of what 24th Panzer Division's role is in the Battle of Stalingrad. I couldn't have done this review if I hadn't purchased the book in the first place, and the support I've received from my Patreons has enabled this to happen. They bought this book for me, and a load of others as well, and as I say all the time, these guys are awesome. The more books I have, the more book reviews, documentaries, and other various history-related videos that I can actually do, so please consider supporting me if you can. You'll find the link to my Patreon page below in the description. Thanks for watching, thanks for supporting, bye for now.